Also, I don't know if you touched on it too. It's good the NFL wrapped up this whole investigation and no more emails are coming out. And there's no more emails that would put anybody in a weird spot. So credit to them for having an expedited process and figuring it all out.
I mean, what an incredible batch of humans. That
Friday night, like Friday afternoon news dump too, when they put that out.
Yeah.
I wonder if every time if this is the case, I wonder if every time Bruce Allen read a John Gruden email, he's like, this fucking guy.
A lunatic.
Like, imagine, if nobody else, okay, if that was, imagine Bruce Allen talking to other people about what John Gruden is like. And maybe he's saying, maybe that brings it all back whenever he said, our culture isn't that bad or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because he was like, you should see whatever is happening with wherever John Gruden has worked. Our culture's not that. Is that what they're saying happened, right? If nothing else was anywhere near the level of what has already been. They're saying that every other conversation that Bruce Allen has had is vastly different than. And that's surprised. That's upset of the year.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all.
I wonder what his conversation was like with Jay Gruden. Like, hey, man, your brother is an absolute nut job.
You should see the stuff he sends me in the email on record. You should see the stuff he's just letting. Now, granted, I do send him, some boobs.
I'll send some titty pics from time to time. No big deal.
Listen, that's what but the things he says is alarming compared to what I talked to with the 600,000 other. What a joke. They did just sneak that thing in there, too.
Wild.
So, hey, everything else is good, by the way.
I saw it scrolling. Hey, I was in my kitchen, TV on. I saw it scrolling across the bottom ticker, I think, on ESPN. And I was like, is this the first time we're hearing this, that everything else checked out, that they're in the clear? And then I look, I'm like, it's like 4 o'clock on a Friday or whatever, 5 o'clock. Wow, this is exactly how you draw it up. It's like exactly how you would do it in a movie, or if you were joking about it, you'd say this is what happened.
It's how you execute the Friday news dump.
Yeah.
It is picture perfect how you execute the Friday news dump. But it hasn't been completely dumped, right? Because we are here on a Monday. So it did survive, I think. Now, granted, we are not the national narrative, I don't think. No, nobody
should be.
No. Nobody else really talking about it.
Rappaport's talking in depth about it, about the investigation being closed up?
I do not believe Rappaport would be. No. I do not think he would be a guy.
I mean, what happened with the Hall of Fame?
Oh, jeez.
They'll try to drag
I'm not dragging him in, but when he came on here, it sounded like he was going to work there until he turned to dust.
Too.
If he was in
You
hindsight,
too.
I didn't think about that.
How dare you?
He was still in Pittsburgh, by the way, this weekend working. Hall of Fame
he
weekend.
was, because he's a great guy.
By the way, knew it was.
Unless we find out something.
I think it should be more. We probably are. It seems like, I don't know. But we should find out more often when it's homecoming games. Alumni games. Mm-hmm. As I was watching and I saw every player basically from Paul Malu
Coach Carr
is out there. Coach Carr, James Harrison was there. Everybody.
Kiesel
was sitting right there. Yeah, what was Kiesel and Troy talking about? Oh, that was so deep. I bet that was one of the deepest conversations happening in Pittsburgh, let alone in that stadium. Then Troy obviously giving his terrible towel to a Seahawks fan to take off his jersey in the front row. Like, hey, give me your jersey. Yeah, get the hell out of here. They got 2,000 of them up in a suite I'm about to go. Here's another terrible towel there. We should know those things. We should know, I think, about those games. But whenever you talk about news just being like dropped out of nowhere, that Tirico New York talking right out of nowhere came. No other emails just being dropped out of nowhere. And in doing the daily show, I try to remind myself, did we already know that? And then I'll see, just like what you did. Did we already know? We did not know. This is pretty big news. Like, I think my wife sees me have those moments where I'll like scroll through Twitter and I'll see something said and I'm like, I don't think that's been said. That seems to be a pretty big weight of. Did that just get dropped out of nowhere? And it happens now, I think, in a lot more than I could have ever imagined or remembered. But that whole email dump on the Friday and then the replay thing, like, did they just drop that in the middle of the day on Sunday and say, hey, we're going to start doing this now? And then Tirico said it on air? Like, how do some of these things happen, I wonder?
It's Sunday night.
I think
Go ahead, AJ. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think there are a lot of times we think people are in these powerful positions. They have these high profile jobs. You think, oh, they have everything squared away, everything perfect, and they're just fumbling around trying to figure it out like the rest of us.
I tried to tell somebody who, thinks highly of a lot of people.
You've seen it, and you've seen it firsthand more than anybody. Like, people with very high-profile jobs a lot of times are awful.
Well, not just awful.
There's a lot of great ones, too.
Yeah, there are. This is a broad, but there are some people that are in gatekeeping jobs, powerful jobs, that I've met, and I go, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that is like literally as soon as, okay, all right. It all makes so much more sense. Still disrespected, still feel like, oh my God, when does this person leave, you think? Oh, you guys have no hope for like the next 5-10 years probably at this point. There has been more of those than I could have ever imagined. Now, I don't know in every situation, but not a lot. In some situations I've been a part of, that has happened where I'm like, oh my God, how did you get here? And it's because everywhere's fucked up. That's literally what everywhere's fucked up. Even the biggest, best things are fucked up. Like somewhere there is some chain of command communication issue. There is some, and I assume the NFL being the biggest and best league on the earth, there is communication failure after communication failure. I'm sure left hand has no idea what the right hand is doing at certain different times. And let alone the Sean Taylor, I mean, more information is coming out about that was just completely fumbled and bobbled. And you're like, how does that happen? Especially with access to all the financial that you would potentially need and all this. It's just because we're all humans and everybody fucks up. Now, with that being said, what were in those emails?
Yeah.
What were in those other emails? We'll never find out. And what happened to Coach Dave, or not Coach, Hall of Fame Dave?
Yeah.
You know, because he did the entire speech over there at Pittsburgh. Is he just doing one last trip? And did he just get to the point where he didn't want to do it anymore? The timing of it makes everybody, I think, with a brain go, well, what the hell did David Baker do? Felt like he was a good conversation for us.
Yeah, very startling. I mean, he came on the show and basically said he would take a bullet for the Hall of Fame and any of the guys who have, who are in the Hall of Fame. So any player in the history of the NFL. And now all of a sudden, he's packing his shit up and he's going home.
Middle
He's
of the
leaving.
season?
8 years.
What the hell is that about?
If it has nothing to do with the emails, poor timing on Dave's part to announce the retirement.
Bingo. And then also, this is just like the Sean Taylor, like the announcement of everything, the PR, the thought, the rollout, the afterthought just seems to be missing in a lot of situations that you would hope it wouldn't be. Those emails. Because now it means, okay, so now it means that the NFL is back in charge of leaking what emails they want to leak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I thought there was a chance, and there was some conspiracy fodder happening, that maybe a hacker had got a hold of these 650,000 emails that have been allocated to a server to potentially be investigated. So maybe a hacker got a hold of them, and they were the ones that were picking and choosing and kind of holding it over Goodell's head. Like, hey, here you go, we got this. And then, by the way, we'll take out an NFL person, too. They took Pash's personal emails. They put out what he and Bruce Allen were talking about. Then obviously they released Schefter a little bit. The internet was abuzz with how and who was controlling which ones were being released. If the message on Friday at 4 o'clock or whenever you saw it, that there was no other alarming emails that needed to be released out of the 650,000 is accurate, that would mean that the NFL did choose to have those particular ones leaked and not other ones then, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it's not hackers, you think, or did they potentially get the hackers off their case?
I don't think it was hackers. Don't you think they would have said if it's hackers? It would take some of the heat off of them if they're like, hey, we didn't want these out. We didn't want any of this stuff out. Now that the Gruden stuff is out, they're being pushed to put the rest of the emails out. If the Gruden stuff was never pushed out, we would never have any issues with this.
So maybe I'm just overthinking like movie this entire thing where like we'll stop doing it if you give us this amount of money.
They're going to get out, right? Don't you think all 650K are going to get out eventually? Like someone's going to, either an insider that or someone that's in there that's seen them is going to be upset and disgruntled and release them to a media member or something. Like I don't know how they stay private.
And what's the cost for every person that knows those emails that the NFL has to pay that is worth more than if they were to go public with their shit, you know? That's a.
I wonder how many people they had that gave access to these emails. I doubt it's that many because you don't want 35 eyeballs on these because you get more worried that they're going to leak.
Well, then how many eyeballs does it take to go through 650,000 emails?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. Didn't they say they wrapped it up in July?
Yeah, so I don't know. I did not. You could be right. Probably. I'll just assume you're right because if you saw it, you saw it.
That's what they're talking about, the Gruden thing. Like they had this in July, but then all of a sudden this came out now when it did.
I saw
That's
that
what
too.
like the timing's weird.
How many pages is in the Giver?
230 something.
200 and Jesus, these are tiny little chapters, huh? I mean, what are these for kids to read?
It is a high school.
225.
Okay.
Okay, 225 pages. How long will this take me to read?
You could do it in a day.
Probably, yeah.
If you only did that, you could do it in a day.
Okay, so what is 650,000 divided by 225, you think? Because that's what they're reading, right?
Yeah.
Reading an email, probably some legalese in there as well, following situations, having to take emails out of context. Imagine scrolling through 650,000 things. The amount of time that would take, like, I'm watching, what's that?
2,777.7.
So that'd be how many days it would take, I guess, which is, for me, you put a speed reader, probably put that in half, divide that by 365. How many? Still, I mean,
that's
add a
still
couple
taking you
speed
about
readers.
5-6 years.
that's what, how,
to thumb through it.
how are they, you know what I mean? Who's,
They're using keyword
That's what I was
searches.
thinking. Yeah.
Well,
Or
some of the
they're just
emails
searching
might be just be like, I want a Caesar salad for lunch.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
John
quicker.
Gruden. So they're saying John Gruden's just firing off emails like that and no reply,
yeah, well, and that's the,
right?
I mean, that goes back to like the earlier point. Like, Bruce Allen had to be so alarmed by the way John Gruden spoke if nobody else spoke to him that way. You know? Like, he had to be so, oh my
Or
God.
Bruce
They were super
Allen is
tight.
also-
Like they've been close forever, though.
Peter King was suggesting today that someone in Dan Snyder's camp leaked the emails.
On purpose?
Yes.
to make Bruce Allen look bad and
To
not Dan
yeah,
Snyder.
to torpedo Bruce Allen and anyone close to him, i.e. Gruden.
But Bruce Allen did say that the culture there was awesome. He said that like a year ago.
Yeah. And
For him.
we're going to see them all. We're going to see everything. We're going to see everything. Unless, what do you have to do to emails? You got to, what do you have to do to servers? You have to light them on fire?
Yeah. Destroy them.
Bash him with a hammer.
Pour water on them.
Throw in the Boston.
and then there's backups. You got to get rid of the backups.
Yeah. Also,
Cloud. They're in the cloud already, right?
Yeah, these things
Oh.
are going to be seen. Somebody's
Don't
gonna,
mess with the cloud, dude.
if it's bad PR for the NFL and they are the ones controlling it, unless there is like a hacker situation, it feels like that they'll just bury them and that you won't see any of them because
There's no
already been
owners.
this
You
terrible.
don't see any owners pushing for them to put the emails
Yeah.
out, do you?
Exactly.
That's awesome to think about. Imagine one of the owners walking in there going, oh, this is fascinating. Everybody knew everything about my company just, 5-10 years ago. Now there's nothing, huh? What, Isn't that interesting? At what point do you think they run through it all so everybody in the league that is owners knows what's potentially in there, who's potentially at risk? Because they all have to know that all that's going to get out. Like, it's all them saying there's no other alarming emails or whatever. By what standards, now that's going to be judged. And when these get out, it's going to be an entire thing.
Well, and I assume Gruden had some sort of settlement to, resign or whatever. Like we were saying, like Mark Davis probably gave him some sort of money. But do you think down the road he'll have some sort of gripe? It's like, hey, you were investigating the Washington football team, and somehow I was the only piece of collateral damage from this. Like,
Yeah,
not
he'll sue the
defending
league.
what he
He'll
did.
sue him eventually.
But right, won't he probably sue the league down the road? Do you think?
10, 15 years or whatever, maybe 5
Yeah.
years, whenever the currentness of it isn't as found. Mark Davis, by the way, this weekend was celebrating in the box as they were getting an AFC West win with old football Richie, old Paisan Rich Bisaccia. So, yeah, this thing's only going to continue to linger, but that Friday news dump was a beautiful thing. And maybe Urban Meyer was behind it all. I don't think Urban has proven that he could code or hack or anything like that, but if it was him, we need to give him a lot more credit whenever he says and does things.
Well, he's got a couple more options now too with LSU opening up.
Yeah.